I'm not happy.
I don't need Elizabeth Warren or the government giving away my money.
Calling Mike Bloomberg an oligarch has implications in this country that I think are unfair and unreasonable.
I care. That's it.
It makes you think of some rich person who got their money off of oil in Russia, who's taking advantage of a broken and dysfunctional system.
Bernie Sanders saying, the country's corrupt, our system's corrupt. Be careful about that language, Bernie. You know, be careful.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Obama.
What's up, everybody? It's Wednesday. Around the nation. Waldorf Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you today. Hey. What's up? Welcome to the show, everybody. Yeah, I know. We've got some serious topics, and I don't know why I'm in a weird mood, but you know what? I don't know. But hey, we're going to have a good show. Stay tuned. It's going to be interesting. Got some fun stories. Mike Pillow coming back. We've got Donald Trump versus Mike Pence. Everybody, hold on to your pants.
Mike Pounds.
So that's going to be fun. We also have Republican quote fail. That's also good. I love that. And then a couple of serious stories about conservative censorship. So very serious stuff going down in both Texas and Oklahoma today. And as of recently, gigantic NBC News report on conservatives banning books. More of that stuff. So, yeah, censorship in the schools continues to happen. We're doing it. We're talking about it. It's going to be a fun show today, other than the massive disaster. That said, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. Obviously, it helps out the show greatly if you do. All right, let's see. I'm not sure where I'm going here. Should we start up with this first story? Just dive right into Mike Pillow, or read a couple of comments first. Let's see. I wish I was here the last 2 days. Got my COVID booster. Boom85, welcome back. Welcome back. We missed you. He's one of our mods over on Twitch. By the way, I want to thank you for being the mod on Twitch and keeping things nice and tidy over there, and troll free. I appreciate that, and hopefully you're feeling much better now. Do you have any bad side effects from that? I felt like crap. Thank goodness ibuprofen exists. Yeah. Look, again, I was glad. I'm actually glad that you were able to take some time off, and relax, and because, look, sometimes, yeah, the effects of the COVID-19 vaccine suck. That's really why we need paid leave, paid medical leave. It's something that should be. I mean, in every other modern industrial country, we would have something like that. But no, we don't. And so, people get their vaccine and then they're just expected to go right back to work, even though sometimes it can kick your ass. Not really, just wiped out. Shoulder hurts a bit from the guy at the pharmacy jamming the needle. I understand, man. I hear you. My wife and I got our boosters probably about last month or something like that. And it was not fun. She had it worse than I did. Sore arm, just wiped out, fatigue, a little bit of headache. I actually felt fairly okay. But yeah, it sucks that there are so many people that can't get a day off work, even when they feel like shit. Paid leave, everybody. If only we had, people that would stand up, to the corporate bosses, to the donors, and actually pass stuff like that for the American people. That'd be really nice. But we don't. Anyway, I got the booster and all I got was a sore arm that night, and I'm immune compromised. Well, I'm glad that you had a better reaction to it than other people. Yeah. So, but hey, I'm glad y'all are boosted and protected. That's a very, very good thing. I would encourage everybody to be able to do that. Set a weekend aside if you're able to. If you haven't gotten the booster yet, you might need it. You might need it if possible. All right. Despite the owners at my work being conservative, if I felt real bad Friday, I could probably get a day off. That's good. That's good. All right. Hold on. It won't let me scroll up. Now, if we had paid leave, people would take advantage of it. Oh, yeah. Those certain people would take advantage of it. That's why we can't have it. Yeah. Of course. Doesn't it always come down to wanting a certain group of people to feel superior to other people? Weird. And that's how they keep people divided. At least, racist people. All right, anyway. Republicans have turned Missouri into Putin state. What? I'm unfamiliar with what you're responding to, or what you're saying. Okay, fascinating. All right. You know what? Enough BS. Let's dive into it, huh? Mike Pillow. Attorneys for Dominion voter systems had some harsh works. Sorry. It's a day. It's a day. All right. Let's try that again, huh? And this time, not saying the wrong word. All right. Attorneys for Dominion voting systems had some harsh words for Mike Pillow, which means it's time for another episode of Pillow Talk.
God gave me this platform. I already know I'm going to win.
China did our vote. Biden and Harris would say, hey, we're here to protect the country, and resign.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't.
Just forget about the evidence. This was attacked.
On Monday, lawyers for Dominion had asked a judge to allow their $1.3 billion defamation suit against Mike Lindell to move forward. Not only that, but they also accused him of being a schoolyard bully. I love it. All right, so now, in a Monday night court filing, Dominion attorneys had compared Lindell and MyPillow to bullies, while asking a judge to move their lawsuit forward and dismiss a counterclaim that was filed by Lindell's attorneys. So the Dominion lawyers argued that upholding the counterclaim, which is for, get this, $1.6 billion. Oh, see, we're going to take your 1.3 and we're going to add 0.3 bill. We're going to add more to it. I'm sorry, it's just so absolutely ridiculous, right? That it breaks my brain. We're just going to add just a little bit more. A little bit more. Why? What's the point? And do a counterclaim. Counterclaim for what? But now the lawyers for Dominion argued that upholding this counterclaim would have wide-ranging and detrimental effects on other cases. The proverbial bully in the schoolyard bully who can't take a punch is not even the right analogy, the lawyers write in their filing. Lindell and MyPillow are bullies who, after attacking their victim in the schoolyard, claim that the victim is forbidden from going to the nurse to dress his wounds or to the principal office to have them held accountable. It is no stretch to say that these counterclaims threaten the rule of law. If allowed to proceed, they would impose liability on innumerable parties engaging in ordinary day-to-day acts of litigation. So again, it's total bullshit that Lindell actually literally did a counterclaim about Dominion, especially after the hours and hours of video that we have of him saying very, very untrue, defamatory statements about Dominion voting systems, as well as like Smartmatic. For example, right, on January 16th, Lindell claimed, once again, without evidence, that Dominion machines were quote-unquote built to cheat in an interview on Right Side Broadcasting Network. According to the complaint, the host then urged everyone watching right now to go to mypillow.com and offered a code for 66% off. You're going to see that this is a bit of a theme here. We have 110 products now, Lindell said, repeating their promotional code. On that same day, the complaint says MyPillow offered a $45 discount and a not-so-subtle nod to the 45th President of the United States for anyone using the promo code QAnon. During another Lindell media appearance on February 4th, host of the Victory Channel show Flashpoint urged viewers to buy, once again, from MyPillow. We've got to support patriots, folks, said the host, Gene Bailey. I don't care if you don't need a pillow. Go order one and give it to somebody else. Like, that's probably got to be like the worst gift to ever get to receive. Hey, I got you a MyPillow. So like and that too sets up a situation, right? Where if you're wondering why your crazy uncle, who, is QAnon, is suddenly giving everyone my pillows for Christmas, you know why. You know why. This is why. And so, what a terrible gift. The thing's like a brick. All right, anyway. The company also says that it had told Lindell to stop saying these false things. Hey, just please, like, I don't care. I don't care if you believe in insane election conspiracies, whatever. Please stop lying about our company. That's all we're asking you, please. Several times. Cease and desist. Cease and desist. Please stop. And of course, we know that they didn't. They doubled, tripled, quadrupled, whatever, down on the big lie, of course, about Dominion and Smartmatic. Claiming that, of course, like, it was created by the ghost of Hugo Chavez, in Venezuela, and we also have the Iranians that are out there that are, and the people from Uranus. They're also trying to steal the election with China, and that China is doing the hacking of the Smartmatic and the Dominion, and all working together with the ghost of Hugo Chavez and Saddam Hussein, all to try to steal the election. Wow. Just, insane. Insane. But of course, there's a reason for the insanity, a method to the madness, or at least a result of this madness. But first, let me give you a quote here from Dominion Voting Machines lawyers, the company's lawyers. Despite having specifically directed to the evidence and sources disproving the big lie, Lindell knowingly lied about Dominion to sell more pillows to people who continued tuning in to hear what they wanted to hear about the election, the complaint says. And as proof, on January 18th, Lindell told Right Side Broadcasting that his business had gone up 30 to 40% in recent days. And on February 19th, he said on Rudy Giuliani's podcast, he's got a podcast. Everybody's got a podcast apparently these days. He said that while he was on his podcast, that in the previous 3 to 4 weeks, he had sold about 300,000 copies of his autobiography. What are the odds? From crack addict to CEO. Wow. So, again, here's the dumbass that keeps lying and then admitted numerous times that, and this is after he lied, that he was selling more and more pillows. Every time he lied, he'd sell more pillows. Weird how'd that work out. Well done. Well done. Maybe that's why Mike Lindell will not share requested documents to the court, for discovery in this lawsuit. Now, the problem with that, of course, is that if you don't share the documents that are requested, then you might just end up getting a default judgment against you, which in this case would cost them $1.3 billion. They're not going to settle. I mean, Dominion's lawyers are already like, no, of course we're not going to settle. You keep doubling down, tripling down. It's not even about the damage. It's not even about the money now. I just want to admit that they're wrong. That's all we want. And then, of course, we're going to take your money. We're going to take everything. And so now, Pillow Guy, I think he knows in the back of his mind that he has no chance. And so what they're doing, and again, he's got no chance. And by the way, he doesn't have that much money. There's no way. There's not enough money stuffed under his mattress that could equal the default judgment or any judgment, right? And so, again, what this is that I think it's a stall technique. It's a stall technique. First, they're going to fully exhaust their appeals, which, okay, they have the legal right to, of course. And they're hoping that somehow this goes to the Supreme Court. Now, it's not. I think it's very unlikely. I know the thought process here. There's conservative Supreme Court, so obviously they're going to rule in favor of me, right? No, they don't want to touch it. They don't want to touch this at all. And so, but understand that the process of going through all these appeals and, going through and trying to work your way up potentially to the Supreme Court, that's going to take a lot of time. And that's the point. It's a stall tactic. I mean, again, that's just, for me, that's pretty obvious, but I don't know what's going on in that crack-addled brain. Who knows, right? Maybe he thinks that he can hold out until Trump gets reelected. That's possible. And then somehow, Trump will make that case disappear? I don't know. But now that I think about that possibility, and of course the fact that it's very likely that if Trump does win, he's going to pull all the stops, completely go full fash. Well, I wouldn't, now I'm a little worried. Great. All right. Whew. Moving on here. Former President Donald Trump is not happy with his former vice president. I mean, that's not exactly news. We've known that for quite some time. However, in recent days, he's really ramped up the rhetoric against him. In fact, on Tuesday, he has now demanded that Mike Pence be investigated for refusing to stop the certification of Joe Biden's win. So he put out this rambling, press release. I'm going to read some of it. Here's what he said. So pathetic to watch the unselect committee of political hacks, liars, and traitors. Traitors, everybody, it's traitors. Work so feverishly to alter the Electoral College Act so that a vice president cannot ensure the honest results of the election. When just 1 year ago, they said that the vice president has absolutely no right to ensure the true outcome or results of an election. Wait, hold on. That was true then, and it's still true now. The electoral, not the Electoral College Act, but the Electoral Count Act, which is what he's referring to. God, I can't even get it right. It's amazing. But no, all that would do was just clarify that the vice president's role overseeing the formal counting of the Electoral College vote is ceremonial. It has always been ceremonial. This is still saying this is just pointing out and putting a label on it saying, since there seems to be some confusion here, we are going to reiterate that this is ceremonial. That's it. It was ceremonial before. It still will be ceremonial. But again, apparently because of right-wing media and Donald Trump and people's general confusion about how government works, a lot of people were confused. And there were people that were attempting to grab power, people like Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro, that played on this confusion of the role of Mike Pence in this certification. This is basically like somebody, what like the Grammys or something, or what is that award show? I don't watch award shows, but I know that people will come out with like an envelope and they'll open it up and declare the winner, right? That's Mike Pence's job. You think that person that comes out there and presents that actually picked the winner? No, that's ridiculous. That's really, really dumb. And so what they're doing is they're basically putting a label on it saying that role is ceremonial only. And it's sort of like the electoral equivalent of putting a label on a toaster saying, don't put this in bath water. Okay, don't take a shower while making toast. It's not going to work out. Open box before eating pizza. The vice president cannot choose the president. I mean, that's it. I don't know how much more simply I can break it down. But apparently I have to, because there's some real brainlets out in here that actually believe that, no. What are you talking about? The vice president could totally have chosen who had won the election. Really? Well, then you're saying that Kamala Harris could choose who becomes president. That's not how it works. That's never how it worked. All right, but he goes on. He says, in other words, they lied, and the vice president did have this right. He didn't. Or more pointedly, could have sent the votes back to various legislators for reassessment. Why reassessment? Why reassessment? I mean, I know it goes to the whole, we found voter fraud and irregularities. Really? Where's the mass voter fraud? Now, I know that there was voter fraud in the election. We found a lot of it in the villages by Trump voters. And actually, we found a lot of cases of Trump voters basically using their dead relatives to vote for Trump. Documented. I've documented this in the show many, many times. Where, hey, we found the fraud. Even then, there was not enough fraud to literally change the outcome of the elections. That's not happening. It didn't happen then. It's not happening in any election here in the United States. We just simply do not have that kind of mass voter fraud. We just don't have it. A few instances here and there, but we have robust systems that continue to catch people who engage in voter fraud. So, but no, understand that they use this, and Trump is referring to really the fake electors. That's who we wanted to send it back to. Remember, a lot of these battleground states, these pro-Trump groups would come up with fake certifications signed by fake electors, and sent them into the National Archives. Some of them were rejected. Others were rejected, but were affixed with official state seals, even though that's not the official result. And it got sent alongside the official result. And so the fake electors, and those fake electors, of course, were there to say that, hey, because of the fraud and because Mike Pence didn't certify the election, we're going to send these fake electors that we think are the real electors, and they're going to vote for Trump. Okay. Wonderful. And so now he then goes into a tangent about Nancy Pelosi. If it were sent back to the legislators, or if Nancy Pelosi, who was in charge of Capitol security, had taken my recommendations and substantially increased security, what recommendations? There would have been no January 6th as we know it. What does she have to do with overseeing Capitol Police? That's not her job. I mean, literally, not her job. This is how it actually works, right? So now the Capitol Police, they're overseen by a Capitol Police board. And there are committees from the House of Representatives and the Senate that serve on those boards. This is according to a USCP spokesperson, Capitol Police spokesperson. Pelosi is not at all directly responsible for overseeing Capitol Police force operations and is not even listed as a chair or administrator of any committee supervising the Capitol Police. Finally, he writes, therefore, the unselect committee should be investigating why Nancy Pelosi did such a poor job of overseeing security, when it's not her job, and why Mike Pence did not send back the votes for recertification or approval, also not his job, and not in his power, and that it has now been shown that he clearly had the right to do so. Wow. What a colossally stupid man. Really. I mean, this is weaponized ignorance right there. But worst, and the reason I call it weaponized, is that he's using these as justifications to call for investigations of his political opponents. Now, of course, he's not in power. He doesn't have any power right now. He's no longer president. So he can't actually authorize any investigations. But he is giving people ideas and telegraphing what he's actually going to do if he gets back into power in 2024. So let's be clear. He's not going after just Democrats, which he will certainly go after, right? He's going to try to punish the Democrats, of course. But he's also going after anybody, regardless of party, who will not fall in line with him. Now, again, what message does that send to the party? Well, fall in line or I'm going to come for you. Me and my jackbooted thugs that tried to overthrow the government on January 6th. The people that I just promised to give pardons to if I get back into power, blanket pardons. And so, again, this is how fascism works. Now, Pence, for his part, Mike Pence is a coward. Complete and utter coward. You think he's going to go and testify against Trump? No, hell no. He's not going to go and talk to the committee at all. Even though Trump had, of course, clearly incited a crowd against Mike Pence. And again, he's a coward because he knows the Republican Party will absolutely eviscerate him. He'll never work again in a Trump-led party at all. And so, not that he can, ever win an election again. He'll never work an election again. Of course not. But yeah, total and complete and utter coward. Super beta of him, to let Donald Trump basically walk over him.
Beta male.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and to not only do that, but threaten him with investigations. Hey, Mike Pence, are you going to get your balls? Pick them up off the floor, maybe? Or do you need permission from Mother to fight back? I think we know the answer. Pence's aides already spilled the beans. Yeah, that's true. But we want to hear it from the man himself. All right. Amazing. Okay. Moving on here. All right, so hold on a second. I don't have the image ready. So let me just do that real quick. Still her. Yep. We're doing it live. We're doing it live, everybody. Yeah, okay. A Republican congressman is getting a lesson on why you should probably vet memes purporting to quote famous people. Representative Thomas Massie, a Kentucky Republican, has been a vocal critic of Dr. Anthony Fauci. Okay, fine. And he recently tweeted a quote that he believed to have been from the French philosopher Voltaire. You mustn't question Fauci, for he is science. And the quote, allegedly, to learn who rules over you, simply find out who you are not allowed to criticize. Yes, yes. Sage wisdom. Yes. Except that that's not something what Voltaire had said. But first, before we get to that, let me just say this. This is hilarious. Nobody said that you can't question Anthony Fauci. He isn't science. He's not an avatar of science. Now, Fauci has actually made some predictions and given advice that turned out to be incorrect. Yeah. Now, the reason, of course, is that, hey, as times go on and we tend to learn things, findings change, and things change. And so, yes, and science changes. See, now, science, by the way, science isn't about just to find answers. It is the process in which you go through in order to get the answers. And so let me give you an example, right? So first, when the pandemic started, we didn't know much. Masks were not advised. Then it turns out they were. And then later on, they're like, well, the cloth masks don't really work very well. We should do the N95s, right? And then, of course, there was for the Delta variant, for example, we had, if you had your 2 vaccines, you were fully protected, right? Then Omicron comes around, and it turns out that efficacy of the vaccine was reduced because of the transmissibility and, the makeup of the Omicron variant. And so now, to be fully vaccinated, we needed 2 shots and a booster. And that's, of course, of the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine. And so, all right. So now critics, of course, pile on. They said, wow, well, they're saying we didn't need a booster before, but now we need a booster now. That means, what are we going to have a booster every 6 months? Well, you do a flu shot booster every flu season. So that kind of makes sense. Yeah. And so, but no, that's what they do. Oh, science said one thing, and then later on it said another thing, so we shouldn't believe anything. No, that's ridiculous. Again, Science is a process. And by the way, when we study the virus, and this applies to pretty much everything in the scientific method, when you study something, you change your understanding of how it works based on what you find. And so, they studied the virus, and they studied how it spread. And of course, we had basically different ideas as time went on how to defend ourselves against the virus and the new variants that have become far more infectious with each new mutation than the original strain. And so, of course, as the virus mutates, it changes, we have to adapt ourselves. We have to adapt our measures, and that, again, included getting a booster. And so now I understand how this can confuse some people, because there's too many people out there that have got the wrong messaging on the vaccine. First of all, some people believe that science is absolutely unchanging. No, it's a process. It's a process. And some people believe that vaccines were 100% immunity juice. No, that's not what a vaccine does. It's not immunity juice. They're not, and never were. You can still get and spread the virus if you've been fully vaccinated. But the thing is, the very key difference here is you are a lot less likely to die if you get COVID if you're fully vaxxed. Much less likely to die. So vaccine, good. Simple as that. And so now back to Massey, right? So now Massey's something else. Again, he actually took this quote that he assumed was from Voltaire, was not actually from Voltaire. Now, that quote actually comes from Kevin Alfred Strom, or at least is attributed to. You know who that is? The neo-Nazi who pleaded guilty in 2008 for possession of child pornography. Now, is that somebody that you want to quote? I mean, I'm just is that somebody that you that you really wanted to take the words of and spread around? I'm just saying. And by the way, when you look at the context of when he what he was saying when he said that quote, it makes it worse. Because here's what he said during a virulently anti-Semitic 1993 radio broadcast. He says, "To determine the true rulers of any society, all you must do is ask yourself the question, who is that I am not permitted to criticize?" And that was in the context, not to science or Fauci or anything like that, but, well, you can probably guess what question, right? The Jewish question. Of course, it always comes down to that. Always comes down to that. So understand where he got that quote and what it refers to. Okay. Now that said, I think you're more than able to criticize Fauci, but just please, if you're going to do so, keep it within the realm of reality and not conspiracy, please. By the way, this isn't the first time that Massey has tweeted some anti-Semitic things. Back in August, he tweeted out a different image that appeared to liken vaccine card requirements at restaurants and other venues to how the Nazis had tattooed numbers on prisoners at Auschwitz. Yeah. So, that's not the same thing. Now, he ended up deleting that tweet as a result of massive backlash, but now, and understandably so, right? Because it was really, really stupid. Do you notice, though, how, the right tends to conflate anything that's mildly inconveniencing to actual death camps? I mean, I can't be the only one who's noticed this. Like, everything is the Holocaust except for the Holocaust. Like, they're saying that. And I'm like, what are you doing? No, don't say those things. That's insane. Maybe you should stop. It's, by the way, gotten really, really played out. especially at a time where you have actual real anti-Semitism going on in the United States that has risen. And not just here, but by the way, in all around the world. All around the world. So, come on. Come on. Don't be a dumbass like Thomas Massey. Don't be a Massey, right? And don't quote neo-Nazis. Just stop, because everyone will hate you and you'll look like a dumbass. All right. Let's go to some book burnings, huh? Or bannings. A school board in Texas is now pulling books off the shelf in record numbers after conservative politicians and parents have complained about so-called objectionable materials. Now, there's a gigantic, exhaustive NBC News report on this, and it focuses a lot on the Katy Independent School District in Texas. However, of course, the article does note that this is going on actually in different school districts across the country, but they focus on Katy, Texas, because it's been a bit of a flashpoint there, as a lot of conservative influencers have really pointed at some specific examples of what they consider to be questionable books. So now, the article writes, the author of the article writes, the small district is now a battleground in an unprecedented effort by parents and conservative politicians in Texas to ban books dealing with race, sexuality, and gender from schools. Hundreds of titles have been pulled from libraries across the state for review, sometimes over the objections of school librarians, several of whom told NBC News they face increasingly hostile work environments and mounting pressure to preemptively pull books that might draw complaints. So that is what they consider to be soft censorship. Basically, a chilling effect where it's like, oh man, I don't want to get in trouble, and so I don't want to get these threats. So I'm just going to pull these books, even though nobody's raised any sort of problem with them. This might be bad, right? So now, some of the books that are gone include titles like Jack of Hearts and Other Parts, a book about a gay teenager who isn't shy about discussing his adventurous sex life, The Handsome Girl and Her Beautiful Boy, All Boys Aren't Blue, and Lawn Boy are all coming-of-age stories that prominently feature LGBTQ characters and passages that contain descriptions of sex. So now, of course, that right there has got parents in an uproar. Oh my, sex! How dare you? How dare you have any description of sex in a book made for high schoolers? Oh my God. Oh my God. Really? And so not only that, but again, a lot of these have the similar theme of LGBTQ. And so now, one LGBT student told NBC News how disastrous this is and how much these books have helped her. Quote, as I struggle with my own identity as a queer person, it's been really, really important to me that I have access to these books, said the girl whom NBC News did not name to avoid revealing her sexuality. And I'm sure it's really important to other queer kids. You should be able to see yourself reflected on the page. Well, that's exactly what the people who are trying to ban them effectively don't want. They don't want people to be exposed to these issues. They want to, and ironically, and I'm not even saying that all the parents have bad intentions, but what they're doing is that they're putting the kids into ironic safe spaces. That's what they're doing. Which then, of course, later down the road, they're going to complain, oh, why are these kids, they're these damn kids in their safe spaces? Totally ironic. Why are you in a safe space all the time? More details. records requests to nearly 100 school districts in the Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, and Austin regions. A small sampling of the state's 1,250 public school systems revealed about 75 formal requests by parents or community members to ban books from libraries during the first 4 months of the school year. So now that's unprecedented. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it is unprecedented. We have not seen this until recently, and there's a reason why. In fact, only one library book challenge was filed at those districts during the same time period a year earlier, according to records. A handful of the districts reported more challenges this year than in the past 2 decades combined. So there is a zeitgeist behind this. There is definitely something that is driving this, and that happens to be, of course, conservatives with their newest culture war issue. Now, all but a few, I should say, of the challenges this school year targeted books dealing with racism or sexuality. The majority of them, and this is the theme, feature LGBTQ characters and explicit descriptions of sex. Many of the books under fire are newer titles purchased by school librarians in recent years as part of a nationwide movement to diversify the content available to public school children. So now, of course, the argument they're using is, well, it's got sex in them, so obviously we have to get rid of them. It's not for children, right? One Katy parent claimed that books about LGBTQ plus relationships are, quote unquote, sexualizing children and making them question their gender identity and orientation. She asked, why are our libraries filled with pornography? Oh, hold on here. There's a huge difference between literature and pornography. So if you can't tell the difference between those two things, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. They're vastly different. Vastly different. LGBTQ relationships are not porn. They're not a fetish. People don't choose them willy-nilly. That's part of who you are. Being gay isn't about, and by the way, this is something that I've seen conservatives say a lot. That the only thing they equate with being gay is gay sex. That's all they talk about in reference to gay. They don't talk about relationships. Okay? They don't talk about social dynamics, relationship dynamics, attraction, things like that. No, they only talk about the sex. So that's all they think about, right? And so, well, no, that's not the same thing, okay? That's not the only thing that's involved. Here's the thing. Think about it this way, right? Ask yourself, is being straight, those of you who identify as straight, cisgender, whatever, right? And that just means your outward appearance matches your gender identity. Like I identify as a male, I present as a male. I'm cisgender, right? It's super, super easy, right? So now, is being a straight person, is that all about sex? Is being straight the only thing about being straight is sex? No. Obviously there's a component to that. But look, just because, I should say, yes, just like straight people being attracted to the opposite sex is a part of your identity, right? Being gay or bi or trans is part of your identity. It is not the entirety of that identity. You see what I mean? So now on the issue of access to certain books, again, I think we can all agree that yes, you should definitely restrict access to those things that are not age appropriate, right? And so, some of these books are not good for example, a third grader, right? No, it's got to be age appropriate. So, again, people in their, who are 16, 17, right, can read some of these books without a problem because they understand, they have the mental maturity to be able to understand these concepts. And that, by the way, just because you read something doesn't mean you're going to go out and actually do it. Ridiculous, right? Ridiculous. But anyway, again, the content should be available based on whether or not it's age appropriate. Now, of course, that's a sticky issue too, when you think about it, because that question of what's age appropriate comes up. To some people, age appropriate And I'm thinking that's a lot of these parents. Age appropriate is like, well, what's the appropriate age to learn about gay people? How about never? Or in the case of sex, not until they're married. Yeah, but that's not realistic. Just not realistic. That's not how the real world works. Especially when we live in a society where sex is basically everywhere and is an intrinsic part of capitalism. I mean, again, you've heard sex sells. And that's it. And so I know that, look, personally, if I had kids, I would rather that they, learn about the concepts from a book in school or from education about those kinds of relationships. I'd rather have them learn about that than learn it on Pornhub. You see what I mean? And so, yes, there's a way that kids can learn these things. Younger adults can learn these things. Teenagers, without resorting to extremes. Because that will happen if you attempt to isolate people from everything. Because you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't isolate and put a bubble around everybody. You just can't do that. No, the best that you can do, and this is what I advocate, have some honest conversations about these topics. Now, I get it that it's not easy to do. And again, you have to cater that conversation as age appropriate, right? But if you do that, the outcomes are usually better for everybody than just completely ignoring those subjects until younger people are pushed out into the real world. But now that's the LGBTQ, stuff and the sex discussion, right? That's not the only thing that's under fire here. You have books that are dealing with racism that are being banned as well. In fact, another parent in Katy had asked the district to remove a children's biography of Michelle Obama. Because, to them, they say that it promotes reverse racism against white people. That's absolute ridiculousness. A parent in the Dallas suburb of Prosper wanted the school district to ban a children's picture book about the life of a black Olympian, Wilma Rudolph, because it just mentions the racism that Rudolph faced growing up in Tennessee in the 1940s. Basically saying, no, that didn't exist. That didn't exist. The racism, no, didn't exist back then. And in the affluent Eanes Independent School District in Austin, a parent proposed replacing 4 books about racism, including How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi, with copies of the Bible. Yes, let's take books that are anti-racist and replace them with the Bible. You realize the Bible is filled with pretty horrible things, right? I mean, you got attempted human sacrifice, you got abortion, war. That's in the Bible. I mean, a lot of stuff in there. But look, when it comes to the motivation, it's pretty simple to figure out why they're doing this. It's not that the children are uncomfortable reading these things. And it's not that they're getting horrible ideas and they're confused. Oh my God! No, it's the parents that are super uncomfortable with these things, with these topics. Because God forbid they actually have to be parents and talk about these very complex issues. And it's not that they can't understand these issues. I'm sorry, but from what it seems to me, that there's parents that are just scared to death of having hard conversations. They would just rather not do it. It's lazy, and so they want to turn to censorship, which they say they don't believe in, but they clearly do. And think about it this way. These are the same types of people, the same groups of people that tried to ban Harry Potter, the Harry Potter books. They tried to ban Dungeons and Dragons. They tried to ban rock music, rap music, video games. And they use it all, and of course, these are things that they particularly find objectionable, but they always use the excuse of, we're just trying to protect the children. No, you're trying to protect your feelings. That's what you're doing. You want to protect yourself against anything that might make you feel a little uncomfortable. On the racism discussion, for example, you realize that no child is going to blame themselves for slavery. And nobody thinks that they should. They had nothing to do with it. No. And so, again, why should they feel bad? Why should they feel bad about that? We should, however, note that if you learn about these things, these systems of oppression that were put into place, that in some form do exist today, and of course that's much more advanced level learning, maybe even college level learning, something like, I don't know, critical race theory, that learn about later on in the college level course about those systems of oppression, they might actually want to do something about it. And of course, you've got these people who are, again, I think, racist, that don't want to do anything about those systems of oppression. Because they think that if we remove those and allow people to get an upper hand, or a hand up, I should say, that somehow brings them down. So understand the goal. Understand the goal on that one. So now, one last thing here. One queer student who went on the record, and I think that's pretty brave when it comes to this, spoke out, and she said she was not buying the arguments that the parents were using. In fact, this is Amber Call, a 17-year-old bisexual student in Katy, and she said this: reading books or consuming any kind of media that has LGBTQ representation, it doesn't turn people gay or make people turn out a certain way. I think reading those books actually helps kids realize the feelings that they're already had are valid and okay. And I think that's what a lot of these parents are opposed to. She is absolutely right in the nose when it comes to that. And also, look, this is very clear censorship. And while I'll reiterate that the fact that I don't believe that all the parents have particularly bad intentions, I think some of them are really motivated by, a love for their children and a desire to protect them against, things that they might be afraid of talking about and these difficult conversations. But I also have to say that you can't always protect them all from these conversations. And like the best way to prepare them is to be open and to have them and to be honest and to be, and to have the type of education behind you, the type of knowledge behind you to steer your kids right. As for the ones who do not have good intentions, like the Ben Shapiros and the Matt Walshes, all they're doing is to try to erase things that they don't like and don't understand. All right. One more story here. Related. Occam Stazer. I read all the Winnie the Pooh books as a kid, and all I do is sit at my desk pantsless eating honey out of a trash bag. That's life. Oh, bother. All right. They want to protect them from the gays. At the bottom of that barrel they do not want their kids knowing gayness exists. That is definitely the aim of a lot of these people, yes. All right. The conservative war on education continues in Oklahoma, where a new bill introduced would fire teachers for teaching things that could possibly offend people who have religious beliefs. Now, I have to note that it's not any religious belief, it's strictly Christian belief. Now, Oklahoma Senator Rob Standridge has introduced legislation that would allow parents to sue any public school educators who teach anything in opposition to closely held religious beliefs of students. The bill would allow parents to sue teachers for $10,000 per incident per individual. The bill also stipulates that the fine would need to be paid by the teacher from their personal resources and cannot receive any assistance from individuals or groups. No GoFundMe. And if the teacher is unable to pay and receives assistance, they will be fired immediately and unable to teach in the state for 5 years. Jeez. Now, I'm going to ask you, do you know any public school teachers in Oklahoma that could afford to pay $10,000? That just have that laying around? Not too many, I'd wager. Because, you know, the average income of a public school teacher in Oklahoma is between $50,000 to $65,000 a year. So, you know, 10,000, and that's per incidence per individual. So say you have a classroom full of kids that have been quote unquote indoctrinated, right? Or have these closely held religious beliefs. And the teacher decides to teach about evolution and they get offended by it. 2, 3 of those people, 4, wipe out a salary for almost an entire year. Wow. And that's the absurdity here, right? The real absurdity about this is not just the amount of money, but the whole entire idea of basically letting parents fine teachers for teaching facts that somebody could possibly be offended by. I mean, for one, it really kind of it exposes how much hypocrisy is involved in the Republican Party. Like, you're the ones that are like, cancel culture. I hate cancel culture. Cancel students. I hate censorship. Ban books. You guys are snowflakes. I'm offended. I'm offended by you teaching facts. That's bizarre. How bizarre is that? What is wrong with you people? Again, in this situation, if this passes or some sort of variation of it, and I don't know its chances. I hope the chances are very small, but you never know. It's Oklahoma. But are you going to set up a situation really where you're going to have biology teachers that want to teach evolution getting ratted out by creationists who get offended, or creationists who fail science class because they're a creationist and so they just don't agree with the facts? How about a health teacher that teaches sex ed getting kicked out by parents who push abstinence-only education onto their kids? Or how about just plain old history, American history, which is rife with racism against Black people, Chinese, etc. How about, the fact that the United States was not founded in the Bible? That's a commonly held religious belief among some Americans, right? The United States founded on the Bible, Judeo-Christian values. No, but it wasn't. It was founded on principles of the Enlightenment. But if you teach that in Oklahoma, what? No, that offends me. I'm so offended. You're going to get sued, sir. No, let's call it what it is. It's cancel culture. Total cancel culture. And by the way, it's a chilling of free speech as well. Conservative cancel culture. So now, this isn't the only one. Oh no. There's another bill that Stanridge has also introduced. And it would give individual parents the power to demand the removal of any book from school shelves that they believe contains LGBTQ content. The proposed legislation states that schools should be banned from carrying texts that cover the study of sex, sexual preferences, sexual activity, sexual perversion, sex-based classifications, sexual identity, or gender identity, or books that are of sexual nature. So a lot of those just don't really have, they're not the same thing. The only thing that they have in common, a lot of these, is that they just involve discussions of sex and gender. So that's really broad, really broad. So now they claim, though, the bill does, that the books must be banned because a quote-unquote reasonable parent or legal guardian would want to know of or approve of them prior to their child being exposed to it. Now, according to the bill, school staff would be required to remove any such book within 30 days of a parent's request. If the staff does not comply, they will be terminated. Not only that, they will be blocked from being hired at any other public school for a period of 2 years. Again, you're effectively canceling them from teaching. Now, this isn't a surprise. They've gone after college professors the same kind of way. Now, Stanridge has had a name of specific books that concerned him. You want to hear what they are? One is the Trans Teen Survival Guide, and a quick and easy guide to they, them pronouns. Yes, pronouns. He calls pronouns overly sexualized. Now get your over sexualized pronouns out of my face. I'm very, very uncomfortable right now. They, them is just proper grammar. I mean, insane. I don't like grammar. I don't like facts. I don't like information. I don't like things that offend me, and everything offends me. Why are you so offended, Snowflake? Liberal? I'm so offended by facts and science. Ban the books. Ban the teachers. Fire them. Sue them. I don't care. Get them out of here. I'm offended. Shut the fuck up. Snowflake. What a baby. Sad. And by the way, I've noticed something pretty disturbing. This wave of book bannings, and this has been happening lately, it seems pretty familiar. Like, kind of similar in the way that Texas had structured their abortion ban. So now they ban abortion up to 6 weeks, right? Or I'm sorry, anytime after 6 weeks. So now, afterwards, and instead of like the federal government coming in and punishing you if you get an abortion after 6 weeks, they've instead allowed people to sue not the people who get the abortion, but the providers. Or anyone they suspect could be aiding and abetting abortion after 6 weeks. And so they've sidestepped possibly constitutional protections like Roe v. Wade, for example. And so they're making the parents do the heavy lifting, making the people into the police, making them all into narcs. Nobody likes a narc, by the way. Nobody likes a narc. But that's what they're turning parents into. Hey, this book, this has this in it. I'm very offended. We should get rid of it. And so, again, these book bans do the same thing. It is not the government that cracks down. It is the parents, but using this law that allows what is essentially frivolous lawsuits. Now, that, of course, leads to this. Soft censorship. You got school libraries that are now so afraid that they're pulling any books that could possibly provide any controversy or offend anyone. And they're pulling them to avoid being sued. And then, of course, they're also looking to sanitize education of anything that could, let's be real about this, specifically right-wing Christians. Those are the people that are the most upset. Those are the people that feel, in this day and age, most victimized for some odd reason. Who's the snowflake now? Who are the ones that are engaging in cancel culture? And by the way, they found a very, very interesting way to do it. In a way, that abortion case, I think, was a test bed. Not just for other ways to try to ban abortion throughout the states, but apparently also a way to ban education. I mean, geez. And of course, this is being used as the new conservative culture war against education. That's what it is. I mean, again, teachers and librarians are afraid that of litigation that will be brought against them for daring to do their jobs. It's a definite chilling effect. Negative implications in the future. This will likely lead to the rollback of LGBTQ plus rights and acceptance in our culture, and a complete remaking of our education system that was only allowed to teach right-wing Christian point of view. That's what they ultimately want, which at the end of the day, look, I don't care if you're a religious person. You're allowed to have your religion. We have freedom of religion. But what you don't have is the freedom to impose your religion upon other people. Okay? So that's where your rights end, where my rights begin. And so this is an incredibly dangerous precedent for civil liberties, freedom of speech, expression, and of course, facts. Very dangerous. Okay. Well, that's depressing. Very, very depressing. But anyway, that's all I got for y'all today. Thank you for going around the nation with me. I'm going to go and read some super chats before we head out the door. Let's see. This is for today. Republicans have turned Missouri into a Putin-style faux democracy, full fascist state. They strip power everywhere, rewrote laws, and gerrymandered. Oh, okay. I got you. According to the January 6th committee, Pence sang. Well, I don't know. I didn't read the details on that. But I'd like to. I think I'm going to go do that. Actually, Virginia Thomas notes that the flu shot every year is for the previous year because it changes year to year. Yeah, it changes, it evolves. That's what happens. Gabby Mathis points out how book banning does make for great sales, though. Mouse is now #1 on Amazon. Amanda's Miracle Jogging Milk says, facts are always the first to burn when Christians start the bonfires. SS 1964, that's a great point. You cannot have freedom of religion without freedom from religion. I agree. Absolutely. Well said. Well said on that. All right. Occam's Taser, thank you for resubbing for a month to tier 1. Appreciate that. 9 months. Save us from ourselves. I don't think you need saving. Y'all pretty good here. All right. Well, thank you for watching the show. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. We're gonna do some raid action here. Raid. I know. Weird mood. Yeah. Let's do a Pac-Man raid. Why not? Pac-Man's birthday today, so everybody give him a happy birthday. Everybody else, thank you. Love you all. Please like and share. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you tomorrow.
Amazing. Beta male.
Obama.
I have not lost this conversation. Who's got a hammer?
Shark, NATO, except for Putin.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.
Obama.